Good timing.
Antonio or something?
Anthony.
Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony.
Yes.
Ah. Hi, George.
Hello.
I have arrived.
You've been late last time? On the street.
That's how I drive.
Welcome. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
wash
coming.
your face?
Yeah, first time in months. Hasn't rained, you know.
Yeah.
Thank God.
At least we remember how that we have ponchos. Sometimes I forget them in my bike.
I can
I
tell. Is that wet?
No, it's
No?
not wet. The colors look like wet, yeah.
Oh,
Is it wet?
no what? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just dive in, shall we? Perfect timing for George to walk in. Yeah. So, guys, today we're going to be talking about wants and needs. This is an interesting topic. I think it's a really, really amazing way when we can start to look at it, and especially when we attach this to pleasure and pain, because that's basically where it comes from, and especially after we already satisfy the hierarchy of needs. Anyone heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah. This is once that is satisfied, then we get to start to experience a little bit of a contrast between the wants and needs, and it gets lost somewhere. And this can be dealt with in when you think that you need a relationship or want a relationship or need a job or want this job or just any sort of situation, because they get kind of conflicted at times. And so what I'm going to do here for this little beginning activity is we're going to set up the room in like a four corners type of thing. Okay?
Cool.
So one of them is going to be high pressure, low pain, high pressure, high pain, low pleasure, low pain, and then low pleasure, high pain. So it's a balance. Okay, we have the highs and lows, right? So we'll do the pleasure side on this side, highs on this side of the high pleasure, and the low pleasure over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, hey, I want you to just think of this activity. Is this a high pleasure activity and a low pain, or a high? It's like you kind of have to look at it as like, is this a low pleasure or a high pleasure, or a low pain or a high pain? And so what we're going to do is just kind of get an idea of the people. And just this is very subjective when you look at it, because everyone's idea of pleasure and pain is different. And so I'm really curious to see what you guys think of these. So again, I'll explain it in this way. So we have high, this is going to be high pleasure, okay, and high pain. And then this will be low pleasure. Pleasure. Do you know what pleasure is? Everyone know what pleasure is? Okay. Low pleasure and low pain. Okay, this is. Do we need to like write stuff down? Let's do this.
I kind of need
I think so.
a deeper explanation on pleasure and pain.
Pleasure and pain, basically whatever you think is pleasurable, whatever you think is painful.
But why you put pleasure and pain?
Because there's two things. Because when we ever take an action, it has to do with pleasure and pain. And so there is either so much pleasure and then not enough pain, or a lot of pain and no pleasure. And we'll talk about this because you tend to move away from certain things that are high pain and low pleasure, and not as easily go towards things that are high pleasure. But again, this has to do with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So high pleasure and high pain. Okay, that's this corner. Low pleasure and low pain. Okay? And then we'll have we'll do this. We'll do high pain and low pleasure.
not a great place to be.
Exactly. Low pain, low pleasure. Understand? So now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say like an activity.
So it's the same. Low pleasure, low pain is the same.
Ah, whoops. Thank
High
you.
pleasure right there.
Oh wait, this is this one. Why am I getting confused right now?
It's tough.
What are we missing? High pleasure, low pleasure. Low. Oh, high pain. So this is. Oh, that was right. It's high pain. Okay, got it. So this is pain. This is pleasure. This is pain. This is pleasure.
Now it's the
Now it's
the
the
same.
same.
This should be high pleasure. You don't have high pleasure.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Low pain, high pleasure. Low.
Listen to the girls.
Now we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when there's a lot of words and they have to do with high and low, and all of them are P's, it kind of gets confusing for a second. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to give you activities, right? Like, so say it would be like working out, or buying a car, or like eating vegetables, little decisions, little activities, taking a cold shower. And so for each of these, what you're gonna do is just think about it, look at this situation, and be like, okay, is this high, is this low, pleasure, or pain? Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, stand up for me. Cool beans. So, first one. Simple. Cooking a homemade meal.
Cooking meal.
At home.
Okay. We should stand at the point where
Yep,
it is.
in the corner.
Cooking meal.
Okay. Yeah, wrong place. Yeah, I'm confused as well.
So, okay, what's the pain of cooking?
Getting the ingredients, recipe.
But what's the pleasure of cooking?
Process.
Yeah, the process.
Oh yeah, that's the good place. That's what I was looking at. Thanks.
Okay.
I like cooking.
Okay.
Team cooking, let's go.
There's a lot of you over here. This is cool. So, and then only two over here.
So we don't like to cook, but we like to eat.
Okay, I like it. And for you guys, any ideas of why you say this? Say low pleasure, high pain, or sorry, low pain, high pleasure.
I mean, that's something I need, even when I need to do, like I need to eat, there's no like pain, like I need to eat. For me, that's like obvious task, and I enjoy it, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or it's so habitual that you're just like, it's not pain, it's like just regular process and enjoying the cooking.
Low pain because I still have a choice to not cook.
Yeah.
The way
I'm glad I
it
have
is.
it.
So when I cook, I enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some people that are like they don't like to. Obviously, there's pleasure in eating, right? But it could take like imagine a chef. Imagine one of us was a chef, where this is where they would be the high pleasure, high pain scenario, right? And so it's interesting to look at with the different aspects of what people think and what they're kind of. I'm not a chef, but it's just looking at this aspect, right? Okay, let's do a different one.
But for you, that was high pleasure, high pain.
I'm also over here, the low pain, high pleasure. I love cooking. It's kind of a meditative thing for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people it's like a lot of process, go and buying all the ingredients and all this.
Cleaning.
Cleaning too.
Right.
And you just eat in 1 minute.
Okay, this one's an interesting one. Spending time on social media.
Wow.
That's
a roller coaster every day.
Sometimes it's like pleasure, sometimes like.
Oh yeah, that's the place.
But it's
Stay over there, huh?
It's my corner.
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
heroin. So quit then it sucks.
Mm.
Confused.
She's
I'm
in
what's
no
wrong?
man's
So,
land.
I don't know where.
So then you're probably over here, low pain, high pleasure.
Wow.
If you're not scrolling,
Yeah, I'm not that much scrolling.
you get pleasure from not being on it, right? So that's the opposite. What about you guys over here? The high pain, low pleasure.
Well, for me, it's draining. Honestly, I use app to block social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I put limits.
it's really, it's good for personal branding and stuff. But
Yeah.
if you're a creator, that's a good. When you're a consumer, that's When I'm a consumer, I really feel like I feel guilt when I spend time on social
Consuming.
media.
Mhm.
That's good.
And you also have a blocker.
I mean, it's really tough to be in contact, I guess. I don't know. Always had struggles with replying to messages, and so it brings me a lot of pain to go and check the messages. I think is the main reason why. There is still pleasure to connect with people, but in my case, I guess it's more of a meeting in real.
Yeah.
And I also try to use social media as branding and
Yeah, as a creator.
as a creator.
Mm.
I would actually go there as well because I do take pleasure in not using social media that much.
Mhm.
It's not really a problem. Like the scrolling never has been a problem in a self-preserving way, but a problem in communicating
Ah,
with the world.
I see. That's
Yeah.
an interesting thing. And do any of you have app blockers for social media? You do? Okay. I was curious to see if there was. What do you have to say about this?
We love it, but we hate it.
Love it, hate relationship.
As a poor person for this.
I like how we all cooked and then
I mean, it gave me a lot of things. I met a lot of people, a lot of mentors. I'm like following 100 people. Those are like educational things. So it gives me a lot. It also takes my time, takes my energy. Like, so yeah, it's giving me a lot and taking from me.
Yeah, and after you feel like exhausted, and sometimes you feel like you waste your time, like a lot of time on social media.
So what would it take for you to be on this side?
Low pain. I could walk, like, because I have a blog, so I have like half hour per day,
Uh-huh.
and I just go there, post everything, answer messages, and I'm done.
The time block, yeah.
So I can go now to low pain, but I still have habit that like I'm opening app and it shows no, not today. Like I cannot access, but I still have that habit, so it's still.
don't you go
Pain
and
in my
snooze
brain.
on the app? Don't use.
I cannot delete. I cannot do anything.
You
so-
cannot snooze.
I'll snooze 28 times
Yeah, exactly.
and continue doing what I
So,
was
but here's the
doing.
thing: if you cannot control it, eliminate it. So that's why.
That's why the app blockers work. But what would it take for you to be?
I also like turn off everything notification. I can open sometime in 2 days or I don't really scroll.
And I think that's a really
And I
good
don't have
point.
problem with that.
Yeah, when you turn off notification, you don't have
completely
that
don't see
urge to
anything.
check. And,
Yep.
I think if we enjoy it, like if we're able to enjoy the social aspect of it without turning into freaking addicts, then we could go that way.
Yeah. If it wasn't addicting, would you be over there?
Yeah?
But it's your nature, so sometimes you cannot escape from your nature. Your brain is seeking for stimulants, and so brain will always look for stimulants. The easiest way to preserve the energy.
That's true. And don't get me wrong, I took this like for a year, like to be here. Before I was like every day, oh my god, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's 11 hours in Bali, but now I don't have problem to not open Instagram, for example.
But also, it could just be a mental thing as well, where it's like I am scrolling, but I don't view that as a pain. There's a guy that I know that is just like he allows himself to be on it because he has this such deterministic viewpoint of life where he thinks that it's determined, and there will be some sort of download or intuition or alignment with being on the phone that will like maybe something that will show to him that he never once saw, but it's the guilt that we come to play in our head that makes it the high pain scenario. Where, I mean, if you were scrolling, would you think of it to be still painful or annoying or guilty?
No.
Interesting. Okay, next one. Cold shower or cold bath?
Still haven't understood the map. Yeah.
Most of the time I still do this.
Really? It's low pain for you?
So, I mean, I've been doing it every day. almost.
Yeah.
Showers.
Ice baths.
Cold shower. I've been cold shower since kids. So I don't have hot water to the ice. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah, I love it. I'm also over here, but this is a cool thing. We have the high pain, low pleasure. You don't think it's pleasurable at all.
I'm doing guys back, but I hate it.
yeah.
Because of like health benefits, but I hate it. I'm trying to like just push my boundaries.
I like to take.
Do you experience any pleasure from it?
Only like aftertaste, like I did it.
Yeah.
Not like nice bad.
But the feeling after,
It's amazing.
But this is the thing that we're focusing on is beforehand, because this is the pleasure, the dopamine chemical that is falling into play, and that has to do with wants and needs, right? So if the dopamine is there, then it will spike and you will think of it as a high pleasurable activity. And so for you guys, high pleasure, high pain, do you feel a dopamine spike happening before you jump in the ice bath?
Meaning, do I like crave for it?
In a way, you crave for it, but also like you're anticipating the outcome of the feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you guys, it's just, let me just get it over with, right?
Yeah, I don't like hot water. I don't know. Just make me hot. You know? I like hot water. Sure.
Cold is the best, right? I love that. Okay, last one. Working out.
That's something juicy.
Let's do something about relationship.
Relationship? Just okay. Having to tell someone that you cheated on them.
Oy, oy.
I know this one personally. This is easy.
I mean,
You have to tell your partner you cheated on them.
I don't know if I enjoyed.
What is
Maybe it's pleasure, maybe it's not.
exactly. Where is it?
Yes, you have to just yeah, just do
It's crazy.
That would be too difficult to stand in any other.
Yeah, well, okay.
Just because of the
I'll
social.
be different.
Oh, why is that, George? Why are you the low pleasure, low pain?
You know what? Like I was recently given the chance from like my ex-girlfriend of like ages ago. Like she made me confess, and it was just kind of getting it over with. You know, it was not a lot of pain. I mean, it was certainly low pleasure, but you know, I said it. And I was like, oh.
But you continue the relationship or not?
Yeah, we were great friends. I mean, we're broken up ages ago.
Anita, where would a narcissistic guy go?
Oh, high pleasure, low pain.
Over here? High pleasure? High pain?
No, low pain. I
No,
don't say no.
it's not low pain.
Low pain,
He have
high
high pain
pleasure.
as well, like us. He's super insecure, but he's still doing that because he have high pleasure. My opinion is that.
Because he think of the pleasure that will come by maybe thinking that he can win the scenario or something, and
Yeah, he
Talk it
can
out.
like changing his own story as well and his dopamine. So I think it's there.
why are you guys over here the low pain, or sorry, the high pain, low pleasure?
You know, it's a painful thing.
Yeah, to tell
I mean, I've done ages ago to some girl
Really?
I never told her,
Oh yeah.
Oh.
but it didn't give me any pleasure. I was a weak man at that time.
And to say it is a really, really hard thing. That's why it's so much pain. And then that conversation. But what about the feelings afterwards? What if it could create some closure? Or
it could definitely deepen the relationship, I think.
yeah, that's very true.
More release, I guess.
Awesome, guys. This is cool. All right, you can go back to your seats. One more? Okay, one more.
Yeah,
Starting a new job.
Oh.
I think I'm delusional, so I'm going there.
Or a new project, or
Yeah, something new. Doing something new. New job, new adventure.
Something we like.
New opportunity.
Where are you going, Sam?
Well,
Show
hey.
us.
We'll talk about new job. Not you whatever comes to your mind. I just say whatever. I just say this. New job. Wow. Okay. Well, where am I going? For a new job, I would be in the high pain, low pleasure. If it's a job that I'm just like if I'm working for someone, it depends. I'd probably be over there. But if it's like a new opportunity for me, it's going to be over here.
Yeah.
It's going to be over here. Why are you guys over here? Low pain, high pleasure.
so for me, I was throughout my life, I was jumping on a lot of projects. So recently, we started the business here, and it was such a low pain, but I felt so enthusiastic. I felt amazing, but then eventually I realized that I should keep my original thing. You know, it's still high pleasure, but eventually I realized that it might not be okay to be involved too many projects. But that's like months later I realized.
George?
Everyone is nice and you're like discovering things. I feel like it's so exciting. This is only good stuff. The pain starts after. So you get to know your colleagues.
Yeah, that's when you see, like, let's say you're starting a company or whatever. So in the beginning you're so excited, you're working on it, but then eventually realize the reality. It's not that easy as you eventually actually imagined it it's going to be.
Yeah. That's cool, George. I love your view on that as well. And eventually, maybe it could be high pain, but that's the beginning, right? It's the beginning of something new, and you don't see it as painful. It's a really good habit to have for anything new that you do. So
I think in the beginning, but later I would go to that area.
this is, if you guys know, we maybe can talk about this if it relates, but it has to do with doing something new, any change, the emotional cycle of change. And this is typically where people are because you have uninformed optimism.
Yeah.
So people over here, high pleasure, high pain.
So when I start something new, and I usually at the beginning I don't like, and I'm thinking of giving this up, and then but I calm myself down, and then I continue, and then I see the results, and I like it. So yes, for me, it's like at the beginning it's very painful.
Mm-hmm.
That could also be if something we don't like, like pain of having to do this thing for regular time. But if it's my thing that I really like, that would high pain, it would include risks that come with doing my thing. So.
Yeah, a lot of risks come with doing your own thing. You know, it's the new plan of the opportunity of this executive summary, whatever it is that you're
you are in charge, you know.
Yeah, you're either in charge or you're not in charge, and you're kind of like the person that's just kind of following the leader. And that's interesting that nobody's over here in the low pleasure, low pain. You're kind of halfway.
Oh no.
Okay, cool guys, amazing. So yeah, this is What did you take away from that? Anyone want to share?
Why did I spend so much in that corner?
No pain.
In that trying to understand.
I like I watch these videos where people like atheist versus religious people or like virgins versus sex workers. And it's like interesting to see people's opinions.
Christians versus sex workers. Could be nuns versus sex
Yeah,
workers.
there are videos like that. So
Fun times.
yeah.
Guys, I think this is a really cool thing. Anyone ever read any books by Tony Robbins? Or who knows?
I
Yeah?
know him, but never did that.
Okay.
Watch Netflix program.
Mm.
Yeah, they made a movie.
There is a Netflix.
There is a movie.
All right, never mind.
I'm not your guru.
Well,
It's okay.
in his book, Awakening the Giant Within, he talks about this idea of pleasure and pain. And these are the two driving forces that create your entire life. And like the main forces that will determine your decisions and any outcomes and feelings that it's basically human behavior is what it is. And so what you link pain and pleasure to will completely shape your destiny of how you will become who you are. And so this is a very powerful thing to understand, is what you are linking pleasure and pain to. And in this, we'll do a little activity later on where we're going to, basically we're going to split the group up into two groups, and we're going to create our own little boards of what we all think of as pleasurable and painful. But when we look at pleasure, okay, pleasure has to do with dopamine, as we just, okay, and then pain has to do with cortisol. We know what dopamine is. Do we know what cortisol is?
The second one is about, I don't know.
Yeah, so cortisol is, it's basically the other side of what you really, it's the stuff that's not fun. It's the stuff that kind of gets you moving, the stuff that is creating fearful emotions, and the chemical of fear, of worry, of anxiousness. This is the chemical that is going on within the body. And so when we are looking at dopamine and cortisol, anything that we are talking about when it comes to dopamine, we want that. It's something that we're anticipating. It's something that we're trying to crave and get some. That's why it's pleasure. And pain, obviously, we're trying to remove ourselves from it. So when we develop these associations between pleasure and pain, it starts to become a really challenging thing to look at, because then we have things that we really, really love, like the phones and sex and all these other things. And the pain is like these hard conversations, maybe just going to the gym, or even sometimes waking up out of bed early. It's like there's little things that have to do with dopamine and pleasure, dopamine and cortisol, pleasure and pain, that will exactly shape your life. So when I can give you an example for in the mornings, right? I kind of link pleasure or dopamine to waking up early, because then I can get the anticipation of more things getting done throughout the day. Where in fact, someone else on the other side, if they look at the morning, it's like, oh, I'm just not going to get enough sleep, right? They link that to not having enough sleep and not being fully rested because you're waking up super early. And it's very, very subjective what each and every single one of you think is painful and pleasurable.
And you think it can be changed?
There is a shit that can be changed in the book. Tony is missing one important point.
He is.
And that's identity. So when you embody identity and you connect, let's say with working out. So that, I mean, I can share it. So yesterday was, I think, it changed my life. I think yesterday's day. So what happened is that I deconstruct my identity, and I started. But before that came. So I read a quote from Neil Strauss. Everything that is happening to you is because you're going to your childhood memories, your childhood, traumas, and you're going there because it's comfortable. I was like, oh my God. And so I never had a father figure that was a strong man that taught me how to, become I would say, I'm not saying that I'm a weak man, but in terms of what it takes to become a strong man, you need to go, as a man, you need to go to the roots. What is a strong man? That's exercise. And so when I connected exercise to identity, oh my God, it just shifted my perspective completely.
Wow. Yeah, it's an amazing thing when you start to like learn about your identity and learn more about yourself. You can talk about any sort of personal growth or any sort of business opportunity or new thing that you will do, and what is the first thing that always comes that needs to be there? It's self-awareness. It's just being super aware of what your story is, what you believe, what your values are, and ultimately just being able to recognize what you're feeling, especially in what you're thinking as well. We're not going to be able to control that first thought that comes to mind, but the second thought is within your power. Yet, this has to do with the cycle of action. I mean, few of you, I don't know if any of you were here a little while ago when maybe Dasha was, when we did the cycle of action. And this is the thought that comes into play. This is how every sort of action and repetition of thoughts, feelings, and actions go into play. And then there's a little bit of okay, so what this is this is again the cycle of action. What happens is there's the thought that always it's just forming from anywhere. As this thought is just formed, it will create a feeling right immediately after that. It'll be some sort of sensation or something that will show up. Then the feeling, and then there'll be an action associated with the feeling. If you feel like you're anxious, you're probably not going to do anything, right? Or if you feel like you're excited, you want to punch through a wall. If you feel like you're powerful, you're going to want to just run, right? The feeling that you create. And so what happens is when you think these thoughts and feel these feelings and do the actions, you will eventually get motivated by simply just doing the action. And that's where motivation comes from. Motivation shouldn't come from right here, this feeling section. It should not be something that you create before. It's something that you get afterwards. And this motivation will then just be a cycle here where you get the feel and then you take action regardless. You start to take it and you don't even have to think any thoughts anymore.
Sorry, can I check?
Yeah.
I just thought about like relationship and talking to each other, like connecting, discussing something, and I think maybe for men it raises cortisol and for women it raises dopamine because she feels seen and heard.
Yeah.
But for the man it's like, yo, we are in pain, we are like something is changing. Someone is asking or I need to answer or something like that, and that's the mix.
Because the idea of pain is pretty much associated with feelings for men, and this is kind of a typical thing. It's like we've been told to block out feelings and bottle them up, and so to express them and to feel them is something that's completely out of the ordinary from what's what's classified as normal. And so yes, it is going to create cortisol. It's going to be painful to want to talk about this. Where women are completely different, where it's like, oh my gosh, I can express myself fully.
Finally, we are connecting on real level, and for him it's like, oh, what do you?
So this is so how does this come into understanding wants and needs, right? So basically, when we look at wants and needs, where did I have it? So I believe that wants are heavily associated and influenced by the pursuit of pleasure. This is wants. And typically the things that are painful, needs are just driven to, like, they're driven to avoid pain. Okay, does that make sense for you? Does that make sense in your head? Right, so we want something because it's pleasurable, but we want to avoid something because it's too painful, right? But we want to remove that to avoid the fact that we're needing something. It's like we want to avoid any necessary pain, and so that is why there's this thing called the hierarchy of needs.
For me, needs and to avoid doesn't connect much.
Needs and what?
Avoid.
Avoidance? Well, so basically how it works is we want to avoid something by needing it. And what that is,
It's like I need food, so I'm not hungry because it's painful. Like,
I think this is more like relationship, like communication, for example.
Relationship.
You're avoiding the conversation because it's painful, but actually you need that to make it clear. You will get dopamine at the end because happy.
So that's,
Yeah, in this case it makes sense.
so now this makes sense.
Right?
it's a stress response, basically. So if you look at this, let's write this a little bit easier for you to kind of look at. Okay, so when we talk about needs, there are things that we want that are needed. Like we talk about this level of basic needs.
Maybe maybe in the realm of like ice bath. So cortisol raises because I know I'll jump in the ice water, but I want a fix, and that's maybe my need to feel better, but through pain.
And so this is basically this is like your basic needs. This is what we talk about with needs. And so anything that you need, it's like I want to avoid anything necessary so that way I can get what I need. Any pain that is there, I want to remove it so I can get what is absolutely necessary for me to get that is covering my basic needs. So any pain to get any food, like if the world was shut down and you can't go into a restaurant, yet it's painful for you to learn how to make recipes and cook food, that pain is like you're gonna push through that pain to just get through that.
Yes, you need.
Yeah, you're gonna get through it because that's like a need. I need it. And even shelter, it's like I will go through so much pain to find this stupid apartment on Facebook that will get me this apartment or the house that I really need. This is the pain that is associated with the needs to avoid it.
So it sounds like if the need is in some extreme situation, some extreme circumstance, need doesn't always connect to cortisol.
It's like the cortisol is only there for when we're when it's like the after effect of like it's basically not even showing up, where it would be there if it was not like a need, if it's just like a want, right? If it's a want, then it's just going to be very painful. And so the idea of something like the ice bath, it's like, okay, I want this. People say it's nice and it's great, all these things that people say, but that's so much pain for me. I don't know if I could really do that. But if it's something like I were to put a gun up to you and say, go in this ice bath, you're gonna do it. All the pain is gonna be avoided, and you're just gonna all of a sudden bypass your own pain and just jump right in.
So that's what people need again.
Yeah, most of the time, if you were held a gun up, just face gunpoint, man, I mean, a lot of our problems would be solved, wouldn't they?
Also, when it comes to needs, let's say shelter, you need a shelter. But also, I think, Tony Robbins is talking about 6 needs. It's not really complementary with Maslow. But in order, let's say for a man, I would say for a man, in order for men to provide a shelter and food for the family, for his movement, to find a cave, if you're looking at how those needs are created back in the past, he needs to be a strong man. And so I would say for a man, if he wants to be a part of society that is strong, man needs to be strong. Because that's the part of healthy family. If family is healthy, then that creates a healthy society.
When we talk about a healthy family and a healthy society, what does that mean to you?
As I said, I think a strong man, because.
But like when you talk about a strong man, what does that mean? Either like that kind of corresponds.
Okay, it can mean a lot of general things. For example, if I'm talking about our ancestry, the way we are, I would say, how we created our mindset as a man. If you look how Romans and Greeks and like our ancestors did it, so they've done it. They were competing against each other. They were lifting weights. They were doing all sorts of things. So that created healthy families, and that created a healthy society. Like you can see Roman Emperor, how long it lasted. But of course, along the way, weak men came along, went to violence, and I think also when it comes to strong men goes to dialogue. He doesn't go to violence, because it takes courage to sit at the table and speak with others.
I think it's more like I think it was like a necessary arms race that created like the need for men to be strong and to fight. When you get to a point where like your population is declining, and then you have to like fight for resources or for women, then that might
That's
be.
what weak men. So weak men goes to violence because it's easy. It's easy to go to violence.
I guess that's not what I thought this conversation was about.
What is it about again?
It's okay. So what we're going to talk about here is I want to dive into more of understanding wants and needs, okay? So when we look at this is the hierarchy of needs. So at the top we have self-actualization. This is basically called enlightenment. Then there's self-esteem, love and belonging, basic security needs where you have things to pay for, and then you have the basic needs where it's food, water, and shelter. And so this is where most of us are at. These are covered. We're in a world now that is pretty easy to get to this point for most of Western civilization. I mean, if you look at other places in the world, maybe not so much, but for the people that are in this room and listening, we have these needs met, okay?
What is the top? Sorry, spiritual?
This is self-actualization. So it's basically enlightenment. And so when we get, now that this is a base that we've been created, now what we actually need is and want is blended into here, in this little bubble. And so what happens is then there's a mix of what is actually pleasurable, what is painful, and this is where we can get kind of lost, because a lot of the times, as we just looked at, we have different ideas of what is painful, what is pleasurable, but how does that even happen? Why aren't we the same? Why don't we all think of the same thing? Well, it's because of the experiences that we've had, and that's how it's shaped your own behavior. And with all the things that you've met for your basic needs, the line between wants and needs becomes blurred. It becomes, okay, do I really want this? Because, okay, I want this really nice house, but it's just basic. Why do I really want that? I just need something to allow me to live. Or why do I want love and belonging? Oh, well, I mean, it makes sense. What kind of pain am I going to go through to get that? Or do I just need it? Maybe I need it, but what am I going to avoid? And do I need to avoid anything to get into that? There's a lot of, like when we look at, there's different characteristics that we look at when we're talking about wants and needs. And there's long-term, short-term, survival. So let's see, maybe we can put this. We don't need this. So there's different, like, differentiating wants and needs, okay? So there's long-term versus short. Banbao. So do we know what immediate gratification is?
Yep.
It's why we go on the phones, right? That's why we want a pizza or a bun bao. This is immediate gratification. Once that bun bao comes up and you actually satisfy your needs, it's like the other day I saw this Vietnamese girl and she was like waiting and like right outside of my house. Yeah. You know, so what's happening is this short-term gratification is getting fulfilled. And this is, I mean, yes, it has to do with the need of the basic need, but also it's like, okay, is mom making something at home? Okay, maybe I can just fulfill my needs with that. It's like there's this entitlement, this form of entitlement that gets in the way when we already have our basic needs met, that, okay, I have this, but I want it better or I want it more. You know, it's a little bit of an entitlement format. So when we look at the immediate or short term, this is like, okay, but I want it now. Like it's going to, man, I mean, there's a lot to say about it because short term can have a really impactful way where you start to assume everything should be given to you in a very immediate way. But if you have a long-term gratification, so we were, George and I were at a men's circle the other day, and we were talking about the idea of me. He was talking about me with, okay, I can go off and do these morning things and morning routines, and we should be like you, Sam, or whatever. I was like, okay, well, I have this idea of being long-term gratified by the things that I'm doing. I don't look at the immediate gratification of something that is there. Maybe it is breathing or meditation that's there for me in the momentary time, and I can do an ice bath, which is the immediate gratification as well. But say if the night before, I don't have the immediate gratification that I want to go out and drink and have these exciting times for whatever it is that can be there, of the feelings of alcohol, the feelings of going out and having sex and all these things, where instead I look at the long-term benefit of what if I sleep in? What if I maintain a sleep schedule that can last me years and years and years and years and years, that I'm able to just not need an alarm and I can just operate on like a daily basis, like in and out, in and out, in and out, and not need anything else but just kind of go with what is basic, what is necessary, and just execute. But also that's the side that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the long term. What's the benefit of getting there? Because what do you think is actually more beneficial? Something that you get very immediately or something that you get in the long term? Right. Typically the build up, right? That's why there's this thing called momentum and the compound effect. All of a sudden, the long-term gratification is the thing that you will be very much rewarded with. And so, how often do you think about that? How often, when you were looking at these wants and needs, do you look at immediate, can I get this now? Or do you think about having to get it later? What's your relationship with that?
I think just shifting perspective, let's say you want to sleep. I think there's instant gratification. It's a good feeling when you go to sleep. And so, for example, in order for good behavior to be repeated, there needs to be some instant gratification. Let's say, I don't know, you had a really good workout, and then you reward yourself with a really good meal. So you get instant gratification, you reward yourself, and then the behavior you had is going to be, the probability that it's going to be repeated the next day is much higher, because you got something for yourself, like let's say good food, healthy food. It's a good feeling afterwards. But I think, and that, so short-term gratification will also lead to long-term gratification. But in order for you to repeat workouts, meditation, you need something instant. So let's say you meditate, you have a good feeling, and that creates.
It's the dopamine. It's the dopamine that's there, right? That's typically what it is the dopamine is the influence of the immediate gratification. However, with too much dopamine, it becomes a little bit of imbalance.
Yeah.
And this has to do with, there's this thing called the hedonic treadmill. And so what this is after some sort of experience, we want to get back to this balance of pleasure and pain. And so if you were to look at your body like, or your system of pleasure and pain, like, it's like a seesaw, okay? Do you know what a seesaw is?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so this is the equilibrium. And then we have pleasure, and then we have pain. So the more that you move towards this pleasurable side, and you do things that are pleasurable and immediately gratify you, your balance starts to become over here. And what does that mean? That it takes little amounts of pleasure or pain for you to get extremely painful.
So you mean it becomes your new normal?
Yeah, it becomes your new normal. And so that means it takes more, it takes more for you to feel the pleasure, and it takes less for you to get pain.
It's like addiction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's very much like addiction and tolerance. And so likewise, once you move it over here, you move towards pain more, you do more ice baths, you do the things that maybe won't give you immediate gratification, like you jump in the ice bath. You know, long-term gratification could also necessarily be in 5 minutes or after the workout, but the point of like, okay, I'm going to get liposuction so I can feel better about myself and take all this extra fat or extra stuff that is not even there. That's the immediate form of what we could do. But the more you move towards pain and do something like working out, you then start to have a more probability for having things that will take such a little amount of effort to feel like it's pleasure. Going outside and simply just being so wondered by the nature of things and the birds and the trees, it's because this is the equilibrium for most people has been messed up. And so that means that if you have more pain in your life, you technically will actually be more satisfied.
And it's like people, it looks like they're like low effort, but their life is great, and you're like looking at them, and for them, what we perceive as difficult for them, they're doing that on habitual basis, and it gets in the results.
For one thing that is painful for another may not be for us. Or for me or you. It's like I've done these things so many times now, right? And that it makes, if you were to try it, it's like, wow. So there's some guy that I've seen on Instagram, he's run for 6 years in a row, for like every single day, a few kilometers, every single day. And if you were to look at to someone and say, wow, it's like a normal thing for him to do.
Yeah, it's not normal not to do.
Yeah.
Or like skip a workout. It's like, I would feel more pain if I skip rather than eat.
Yeah, so it's a really helpful thing to understand where is your pleasure and pain balance. And when you really look at this and start to witness how much am I giving into pleasure, how much am I allowing myself to give into this immediate pleasure, will literally also correspond, and you'll be able to tell the difference with how much pain you have. And so that will give way to understanding what you want and need at the same time. Because the more pleasure you have, the more you're giving into your wants. And the more needs that are not being met, the more pain that is you have. So, because the pain has to do with this.
That makes sense. So let's say you're watching at social media, looking at others' lives, and you compare yourself. You want to be there, where they are, but then you're missing your needs.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? For example, when I'm hungry, I feel like, oh, I want a boyfriend. When I'm full after food, I don't need boyfriend. That's normal or not? Is that dopamine?
How are you right now?
Wait,
Is your friend?
what did you say? When you're full?
When I'm hungry, maybe I'm thinking I want to have boyfriend. Yeah, I think I need boyfriend.
I
And
think
then
you-
when I'm full, I don't need
Oh,
anything.
it's like maybe I want somebody to provide me. To
No, it's not about that. Just
It's
the
about
feeling.
cravings.
It's just the feeling that I want to have. Oh, it was nice to have boyfriend. You know, like to see other couple, maybe video. But then when I'm full, I don't even need boyfriend.
It's like for addicts, they should be
Yeah.
like not
It's
hands.
more like something. Yeah, the feeling. It's not about the food. It's not about the. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, when we look at that, it's like the idea of you being empty of the stomach. It's like there's
Doesn't
no.
make sense. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, when you have no food in your body, it's like, okay, you're at a state of not having your needs being met, and so you will slowly start to go through this entire top to bottom type of thing in
Hallucination.
your head of like, okay, do I have my food? Okay, I have food. Okay, do I have, like, it's subconsciously already there. It's like, okay, am I safe still? Do I have love? And how good am I consciously? And my self-esteem is high. Okay, then why am I like not having a boyfriend if I'm beautiful and all these things that go in the head? And then once that security of basic needs is met, then you start to have that same belief, that self-image that we were talking about. Once, like, if you have a very strong foundation of your self-image down here, all of a sudden your self-esteem is super high. Your ego or your confidence in who you are, your image is so enlightened that you are already here. So you could technically go through up and down this on a daily basis based on how satisfied your basic needs are.
Every day. Yeah.
So let's do this. I want to
It's sometimes even just I'm in the restaurant, you know, like the food not coming. I still feel like, oh, it must be nice if I have boyfriend. And then after
Messaging you.
I don't need any kind
I
of
love you. I love you.
feeling, yeah. I think it's called loneliness, yeah.
You're so fun.
let's do a little bit of art today. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna write down all of our pleasures and pains. You don't have to share it, but just this is for you. This is for you to get very aware of your own pleasures and pains. You can make like a T-chart, being able to just look at them side by side. You know what? Instead of just doing it.
Some good paper, right?
It is good paper. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just maybe we could keep it. Maybe we could always also do one. But I bought this like a while ago, thinking that we were
You
gonna.
bought it? I used it.
You were using it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just a couple of pieces. Yeah, thank you. I thought it's studios.
Oh, it's okay. So this is the pleasure and pain station. So you're just gonna be mapping your own pleasures and pains. So, I mean, maybe we can just do a little like a half. And there's 4. Yeah, it's about an equal amount. So George can go anywhere if he would like. There's 4 over here and 4 over here.
Oh, I've got to pick a side.
Come
Oh
to
my
our
goodness.
come to our side.
But I mean, you don't necessarily have to. But the idea is
It's
just
like
to
you're pushing me away.
create a group or a map to map out just one side that's pleasure and one side that's pain, and just start to just list and think about activities and group or behaviors and situations that you think of to be pleasurable and painful, and then you'll be able to start to discuss and as like a small group to how these associations impact your decision making. And so you're going to start to see things that are immediately pleasurable, but maybe long-term pain or, you know, stuff like this. So just start to think about different scenarios, and we can maybe just talk about this all together, because there's actually, I don't have that big of paper, and so I was thinking that this was much bigger. But so what we can do then is I'll just start to think of little activities and behaviors and situations, and you can start to think of them at the same time with us and just kind of blurt them out. And again, we're making like a T-chart almost, right? One side of pleasure and one side pain. You could do a Venn diagram as well, because then this will help you understand what's the midpoint of your balance that you could help yourself out with.
I like that.
So what goes in the middle?
That's the balance. That's how you get your equilibrium. That's where you can find a midway.
So if I write on one side pain, one side pleasure,
Yeah.
what should I write inside?
In the middle.
Understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you give us the example? I don't get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay, again, with the beginning stuff that we talked about, with like ice baths, with creating food, it's like maybe some impactful ones that you think about on a daily basis that would help you to look at. What are the things that what are the decisions that you kind of make on a daily basis that are like pleasurable and painful? Is that going to bed early, going to bed late, waking up early, or is it having a drink? It's like, what are the things that are showing up in your world, the behaviors, the activities that you have been thinking about on a consistent basis that will be either pleasurable or painful?
And where do I write them? On the teacher?
So you can do it like George, like a Venn diagram. You can do something like a pleasure and pain. The idea is just to understand pleasure and pain, right? So let's come up with a bunch of different activities, shall we?
Going to bed early.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Sleeping in.
Mm-hmm.
like eating salads or something.
Salads,
or buy
yeah.
vegetables in the market.
Or if someone here is vegan, then you can talk about what if the pain of eating meat, stuff like that.
What about the pain of eating vegetables?
Yeah.
There you go, that too, right? Or what about like doing taxes?
Oh, I love that.
Really?
No, I've never.
But I mean, doing taxes is like it's not a thing that you do very often, right? What about like traffic? It's like, okay, what do you associate traffic with?
Traffic jam.
It's a pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's fun if I'm not in the hurry. Being in a hurry is painful.
What about your procrastination, or just doing your work that you do on a daily basis? What kind of projects that you're working on that you kind of are linking your things that you're doing for work? What are the things that are important to you?
What I put in between, like the things that are pleasurable but painful.
Yeah, this is something for you to figure out. I can't tell you what to put in between. It's a balance. This is why it's very subjective to understand. Everything that I put as pleasurable for myself and painful for myself is not going to be the same for you. But the way that you associate this, and this is something that we're gonna like move to end on, is to be able to have mindful decision making and understanding your priorities, evaluating your wants, prioritizing your needs, having long-term perspective, and these things of like pausing and reflecting. It's like that's the type of stuff that goes in the middle, where you can start to set boundaries and clear boundaries to have a balance for your indulgence, for your impulses.
So do you have like a routine for reading or for studying every day?
For studying?
Or for reading?
For reading?
Yeah, looks like you read a lot or not a lot.
I typically do my morning routine. This is also an activity that you can look at, right? What is the morning routine? The morning routine that I have will be, I'll probably go to the beach, or I'll do some sort of form of exercise and movement in the morning. And as soon as I get that done with, I then will sit down and meditate and do breath work. After that, I'll jump into doing my journal reflection. And after my journaling, I'll typically read.
Do you have like a set amount of time for reading?
I used to do 10 pages a day. I kind of just go with the flow. Yeah. Just whatever it is. And sometimes maybe it's a whole chapter.
Yeah, because it feels like in this realm, like so many books to read.
There's a lot of books. And the best idea is to reread the old books instead of starting to read new books. Because a lot of the books talk about very similar stuff.
Same things, yes. And I thought maybe if I read like if I just it would help me reading for 1 hour, and I'm like, wow, I can read a book a week,
Mm-hmm.
5 books or 4 books a month. It's like, wow, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And being okay that I cannot read everything, and also that some ideas they overlap, and that's the point for me to get the ideas.
What's on your mind?
So we're fulfilling, like, you're gonna recommend something?
Oh, well, yeah, I've been kind of, we've just been having an open discussion just about different things to kind of run like thought joggers through your mind. This is why I've talked about morning routines and traffic and little like eating, like what you eat, if it's like if it's veggies or if it's meat, just relationships, what kind of relationships are you looking for, or the conversations that you're having in these relationships. They don't have to be intimate relationships, but they can just be just everyday relationships. How often are you looking at your finances and thinking about your finances and what you are buying, or worrying about some bills and expenses? Maybe overthinking could be a pain as well. What about just like what kind of projects are you completing at work that are important, that you don't like to do or you do like to do? Where does social media fall into play with this? Where does just like spending time with friends and family fall into this? And being supported, or just your free time? Exercise, where does that fall into play?
Need help on painful stuff. I'm way behind. I'm not meeting my
I
quota.
realize there's more pleasures than pain.
Isn't that interesting, right?
Or is it easy for us because we want to avoid pain?
Yes,
It's easy for us to remember pleasures than pain.
because dopamine is a thing that's like the addiction, right? That's the thing that we tend to remember. But the things that are super painful is the things that's why it's been like created in us to be able to really, really remember extremely painful things. Whereas, so right before a pain situation, there's an adrenaline spike. And so with an adrenaline spike, you will immediately remember that. That's why with our ancestors, we had bears and all these extremely aggressive animals come to us. And we now understand immediately that this is a bad animal to even be around with. You always will remember that. But all of a sudden, if you were just like, if bears or like you don't remember what dog you were petting, but you just recognize that dogs were pleasurable. But you will be able to recognize that immediate bear and the scar that it had just by such an immediate thing, because it's so painful in that moment of that adrenaline spike, that is just, the memories are wired so strongly. And so the pain, yes, will be remembered more, but it's typically a more painful situation. If you're not putting yourself into a lot of painful situations, what are you avoiding to try to move into? Could there be things that you would like to do but you haven't done yet, that seem a little painful, or that you really see to be challenging at times?
So, for example, you can avoid, there is good and bad pain. Let's say traffic. For me, traffic, cleaning, like cleaning dishes, is a bad pain. But for example, good pain can be like eating healthy, exercising. Even if it's a pain, but if it's constructive with the identity, it's not anymore pain. It becomes a pleasurable activity. So that's why I think embodying identity is super important.
It's labels. This is a lot about CBT.
What's CBT?
Cognitive behavioral therapy. It's being able to label things, and once the brain can be able to label things, as soon as you can start to label it, this becomes so much easier in managing decisions and reactions and
becomes pleasurable.
Yes.
It becomes easy, it becomes your part of your identity.
yes, exactly. Or like this means sleeping, that has to do with it, or just like I mean, if I were to look at things in my life that are painful, sometimes it would be not getting things done. like the pain that I have.
Oh, guilt.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wrote that guilt productivity.
Oh, look at that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But then there is like, that's a very broad thing. So try to pinpoint even more specifics.
So for example, when you have, let's say you're working and there are distractions, and after you work, you feel like you didn't accomplish enough because you had so many distractions. Even you had some work done, like you were checking your phone or something like that. Then I feel guilt productivity.
I am distracting myself. That's my pain.
A huge distraction. That's a pain I don't like either. And so then what we have to talk about still.
So that means identifying that like distractions. And so, okay, let's say you have distractions like a phone is in front of you, like
Yeah.
you're checking it. So if you cannot control it, why don't eliminate it? You put your phone in another room while you're working, and so it's not your visible, how to say, it's not your peripheral vision, so you don't see it. So then you don't go towards it.
It's not only the phone, it's also when I'm working. Okay, my phone is in another room, but then I just like, I don't know, then I just Google something else or just daydreaming. I find other distractions or just looking for food in the food store. I don't know.
I feel like
It's just like, and then I realize, oh, I just distract myself. Like it doesn't have to be the phone.
Yeah.
It can be
I
anything.
mean, that's true. That happens to me a lot as well. I would work on something, then something would come up my mind, like, okay, let me see this right now. I will go to Google. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm telling myself this morning I need massage. Is it like need or I just?
You'll get a massage. Not for me,
But like my
I don't like
wants
to
sometimes
massage, that's
become
okay.
my needs. Like in my mind I said no, I need it. So for me it's like there's no line. Because all my wants are sometimes needs. It can be frustrating.
Yeah, that's because of this, right? We just talked about it gets blurred. What is the basic, like, that's understanding what are the biggest pains that could be pain of not getting something as well, right? So it's like these are the kind of things that we've been used to, and with having a lot of well, I guess you could say a really wonderful the way that the world has moved, it's been able to increase the speed of things so much. Now we have washing machines, now we have dishwashers, now we have sinks to even clean dishes, and it's like the way that we've actually been able to simplify time has been it's crazy. Like it's absolutely amazing how we've been able to do that. And so by removing things and seeing like the pain of not having those certain things, it's because we've been so used to it. That could also be a pain. It's like those things that we do on a daily basis. How would that affect us if we don't do it? And we don't have it, or even on a thing we do just kind of ritually, like getting a massage every week or something like this. But the idea that we really have to the point of understanding your wants and needs, and the way that we actually can move towards this is gamifying it, to make it a game.
So your inner child would play, like let's say you want to exercise. You would let your inner child, okay, let's play now. We're going to like lift weights and
actually pleasurable.
yeah.
And so there's this in the Atomic Habits book. There's the X factor, where if you were to start to write down X's just on like a whiteboard or a piece of paper or a Post-it note, all of a sudden you start to put X's for saying you wake up at this time, you will gamify this process to then, okay, I'm so sleepy, what time is it? Oh my gosh, it's 6:58. Am I gonna get out of bed in 2 minutes and put that X down? If I tell myself like this is the X is only there if I'm there at 7 if I'm out of bed at 7 a.m. And so you will not get out of bed for anything else to just put that X on your piece of paper.
It's instant gratification. You see your result. Yeah.
That's how you gamify things. It's understanding how you can immediately gratify things, but in a way that is not, again, too pleasurable, because this is where this balance comes into play. You all of a sudden go towards more pleasure, it makes it harder for you to do it in the end, and it's more painful, or it's easier to fall into pain. It's a tricky balance, but that's the idea. This is why self-awareness and understanding yourself and at such principles is so important. So gamifying it through the short term feedback that you give yourself, through the short-term games, just simple X's, being able to just recognize, okay, well, I have this funny face out of this person by doing this, or by going up to someone and talking to this person. How can I, like if say for someone to be, it's like a social anxiety, it's like, just put yourself in these situations sometimes, but what if you all of a sudden say like, okay, I want to make this person laugh, or I want to see this reaction out of someone, and just to put yourself in these situations habitually, to just get over the fact that it's painful, and to gamify these things. And eventually you won't see that as being painful anymore. You'll see it as something that you want to get pleasure out of. Again, that's where the game comes in, is to find a way to make it a simple way that can give you some reward in the beginning, but will actually be much more rewarding in the end. It still takes a lot of pain to get to that point of making that decision, or to actually execute on that, but the end result is going to give you a small little reward that is temporary, will last, but the end benefits, that's why exercise is so awesome, right? You have the pain of actually doing the exercise for the 30 minutes, for the 45 minutes, for an hour. You get the immediate benefits of feeling like wonderful, all the other wonderful feelings you get. But what's happening over time as well is you're getting to this point of being healthy, being fit, being strong, right? That's the type of thing that we need to work on when we're talking about our wants and needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, what do we got so far? I love this. You guys got a big list.
Sam, we need to go.
Yeah, that's it, guys. It's 12:30. So I want to just briefly talk to you about the thing that I'm doing online. So this next month is going to be completely online, and it's going to be a 4-week program that I've created. It's going to be, what is your story for the first week? The second week is self-regulation. The third week is managing the external world. And then the fourth week is how to contribute in a very powerful way in a contributing world. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to create a game out of this as well, where you are grading you, I'm grading you, and the community is grading you and like scoring you. You're going to be grading you on all your decisions. If they're hard decisions, easy decisions, or medium decisions. And then the way that I will grade you is through each of these weeks, there's a project that I will be giving out, and your team is going to create this project. And this project will then be assigned to the members to create this sort of thing. And once it's been created, I'll look at it at the end of the week and give a grade out of that. And then the community, the way that you involve and support each other and give advice to each other and help each other out, will also be graded as well. And that will be graded by the other teams. So your team is basically a whole figure to bring other teams up and help them as much as possible. And so your team will then grade other teams. And so at the end of this, I'm going to give out free coaching. I'm going to create some merchandise for the School of You. There's going to be retreats that's going to be coming up in the next few months, and the location will be determined, but big invitations and discounts on that as well. It'll be probably in Hue. And
so you're coming back to Vietnam?
Yeah, of course. I'll be back in a month. But this is like, I'm really, really excited for this. I've put in a lot of work. So I'm really excited for those who would like to be. And for you guys, the people that are here in Da Nang, it's much cheaper for the people that are here. I'm typically looking for the people that are in America. And so I'm charging more for the people in America, but the people that have been coming here consistently and are in Da Nang that I know, we'll keep it pretty cheap. But you can join for 1 week. or you can join for the whole program, and that's where you actually get involved in the game as well.
And then another part is that, you know, you've been mentioning that you're going to kick out people from their platform, which is a fair point. But also you need to understand that the reason why people are not active because there's no skin in the game.
Yeah.
You don't charge anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're expecting from people to be active, but they don't have skin in the game.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's really important part. So, and I think if you just shift that and start to monetize, people are going to be more active because they have skin in the game. Because
Right.
there's no activity without skin in the game.
Right. I mean, what it's been like is it's basically what you call a guru model, where it's like I have all these connections with you guys, where it needs to be like this. It's like a web of people. This is where the model needs to be. It's like this, and I haven't been doing it. I've been doing it like this. Where I would like it if all of you guys are connected and communicating and talking and giving value to each other, because that's what's more beneficial than just all of you just being friends with me. I want you guys to be friends with each other. I mean, I love being friends with you all, but at the same time, you get more benefit from also being very interactive with other people as well. I have a limited amount of knowledge, and so does each one of us, but when you come together as a collective, wow, that's what you call a hive mind, you know, a mastermind. So, yeah, let me know if you would like to. I'm gonna post some stuff about this in the group chat, on the WhatsApp group chat, and I'll be put more details in there. But for now, I really am sad to see nobody here for the next 4 weeks. But I'll keep you guys updated with how my time goes in the States. Thank you guys so much for coming
fall
today.
in love and
No,
Never come back.
not an opportunity. But thank you guys so much for coming. Leave your donation next to the Buddha head.